Hello, this is Edward James Tagg, and I run a group called, I think it's called Pit Sawing and Sawing by Hand on Facebook. You may have remembered me when I was living in New Zealand and during COVID lockdown. There wasn't much to do, couldn't go to the gym, so my exercise was sawing logs or ripping logs by hand. And so I'm going to continue and give a little bit of lesson, particularly about swaging rakers. And I know that sounds really a strange term, and I'm going to go into that in more depth. So when you're sharpening a saw for log sawing, I have here, you can't see it because the camera's not at that angle, but I've got a big plum from a plum tree, a log that's about 6.5 foot, 7 foot long, and about 16, 17 inches in diameter, and I've sawed it with a chainsaw, but I'm going to be ripping it with this handsaw. This handsaw is a Disston, I think it's spelled Disston, and I think this was a Superior warranted, and that was one of the brands of Disston in Canada. I don't know, 50 or 100 years ago, how long ago. So they're really excellent. The one I used in New Zealand was almost identical to this, and I had a friend who was an architect, and he gave me his retired father's, who was a boat builder. But I think this one is a tiny bit longer. I think this is called a champion cut, where you've got two little knife cutters here, and they're the points. I forget, what do they call them? I forget what they call the points anyway. And then you have this little thing that looks like that, and they're called rakers. And they're called rakers. Why are they called rakers? Because they rake they literally cut. See it's hard to explain. It's not at all. You've got the two main cutting teeth, and they're set. So this is parallel, and set means that they look like that. And the reason they're like that is they're cutting on the sides, or they go in first into the groove, and then you've got these cutters called rakers that go front and back, and they chisel out the bottom and they create the furrow. Now here's the thing, if you have rakers that are cutting out forward and back, and they're higher or going in deeper than these knives, they're going to get stuck. So they have to be a tiny bit lower. And so when you buy a brand new saw, so here's an example of a brand new saw that I got through a company called Lehmans, Lehmans, when I lived in Texas. And here's one here. This one has 4 of those cutting teeth for every raker. So this one's also got a hole in it. I think this is called the gullet, and the hole means you get more space for the shavings to exit. So these are the rakers here, and these are the teeth. So there's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to every raker. Now here's the thing, when you buy a saw like this, brand new from Lehman's or whatever, there's no set. I'm just checking it, I haven't got my glasses on, but I can see. So there's no set. So what does set look like? Set basically looks, like I said, like that. You've got left and right. And so you have to set those with a special tool. And I've got various tools here that do this. This is a really big one. It literally goes over the top of the teeth like this, and you literally bend it. And then there are also ways of hammering with a hammer on an anvil. And you've got a little anvil, you've got 2 little anvils like this. And you've also got a way where you can put this one over the teeth as well, and you can bend it. And this one here has got a little notch to go in the top of a log, and then you'll look at that surface that you put the saw on, and the teeth go over that edge, and then you hit them 2 or 3 times and bend that over. So today I'm mostly going to be talking about swaging rakers. I'm just going to give a little bit of an introduction or a call out to the crosscut saw. What's it? I've got to put my glasses on first. The crosscut saw company in Seneca Falls, New York. I'll just show you that address. Let's see if I can find the better address so you can see exactly if you need to order these. Although I got these, I'm not sure where I got these, but oh, here you go. Crosscut Saw Company, 185 Ovid Street, Seneca Falls, New York. I'll just show you that address. So when you get this kit set to help you sharpen your saws, you'll get like one of those, which is a really huge one. You would only use this on a really, really huge saw, and that's for bending the teeth over. And then you get this thing, which is quite a complicated little beast, and this is called a jointer or a jointing jig. And that's when, in the beginning, when you've got an old saw, you want all the teeth to be on the same level, because if some are high and some are low and some are high and some are low, well then only the high ones are going to catch, and you know, and then nothing's going to saw evenly. So what you've got to do is you've got to get an old file or a brand new file, and you've got to take off the tang. So I put this in the vise about an hour ago, and I bashed it with a hammer, and the tang popped off. And then you've got to put a little bevel on it, like that. What a bevel is, so when the file is going across the tops, it doesn't jam into this jig. And this is called a jointing jig. And this one says Seneca Falls on the back, and that's the Crosscut Saw Company. And then it's got a place where you put the file in, like that, and then you screw up these two little screws like that. And if you tighten them up really, really tight, what will happen, I don't know if you can see that, but then the file will literally curve, because there's another point in the middle. And if you can see that curvature, that follows the curvature of the arc of your long saw. Now you don't want to put too much curvature in there, because the file's not very curved, only slightly. So just give it a slight curve. Sometimes even a curve is too much, depending on how flat or how, you know, the top of your teeth are. So I just do it mildly. And I think a lot of people would be horrified, and I was, because you were literally putting it on top of your saw, and you think, oh my God, like, I've got all these lovely teeth, and I'm just running over the tops of them with a file. And you go like this, you go, I wouldn't do it because I've already done it pretty, but it just looks like this, and it's really aggressive, like really, really aggressive. And then what you've got is you've got all these high points. Now, this particular saw, like, where is it? Not at this end, further down that end. It's missing a couple, not missing. This one here, the top is lost about the top, like 2 millimeters, or, you know, 1/16 of an inch. That one's, and so is this one here. I don't know if you can see that, but that one there, it's missing a good 1/16, almost 1/8 of an inch. It's just been knocked off. So the teeth do knock off. Just the tops of them sometimes. You've got to be very careful. One of these rakers, once I hit it with a punch, and I'll talk more about that, and the whole tooth snapped off and went ping and went flying across the workshop. So, but anyway, so when this is called jointing the top of your saw, and you have to do that. That's the beginning, the first stage. And the reason you have to do that is because if all your teeth are at different heights, you're only going to catch 1 or 2 teeth. You're not going to get all the teeth on the saw, and that's just really disappointing, because you think, why am I going through all this effort? But the first stage is hugely important. If you don't, then all your teeth are out. And then you look at your beautiful saws. Oh my God, I've totally demolished it. Like, I've got all these big flat tops, you know, over the top of all my teeth, my rakers, those pretty nice little curved rakers. They're quite beautiful, lovely shape, and you think, oh my God, I've just like demolished it. But you have to take it right back to bare bones until you've got a nice even arc, so all your teeth are touching. So first you joint with this jig. I have an old antique one. I'll just put this saw down so it doesn't fall down and cut me. This one is made by Curtis, the saw division of, let's just put this down, I'm probably in too many things. The saw division of, I can't even read that because I haven't got my glasses on, but anyway, that's that service. The saw division of something tool company. Oh, that's also Seneca Falls, yeah, so there you go. Now the reason I'm not using this one is because it's a little bit too short. just the length. It just, I suppose because I did exercise and Tai Chi and ballet, is that I've got a very, very long draw stroke. When I draw, I'm going probably, how long am I moving it across front and back? 6, 7, 8, well not 8 feet, but a long draw length. So this is just literally too short for me. I could use this for some firewood, but I'm ripping. Now most people don't rip, so what I'm doing is kind of entirely wrong. Most people just want to chop firewood and go through a saw this way. They don't want to rip. And some people would say, well actually most people would say, this is not a saw designed for ripping. A ripping saw just has lots of M teeth, or rather with a leading edge on it. So this is not a ripping saw. But when I was in COVID and I used the saw, because the only saw that I had, it was really, really wonderful. It just, these beautiful long ribbons of shavings come off, and this for ripping for me is mind-blowing. I can do a huge log and rip it like an 7 or 8 foot long log, 18 inches in diameter, and I can go through it, the whole log, about 8 hours one day. I can go through a whole log. So moving right along, so where am I up to now? So yes, this is the antique, or the old Disston jointer gauge, that one there. And you also attach your, you put your file in there. There's also another thing on top where you put this, it's a jig where you put it over the top of your Rakers like this, and they, well, can I do it from this side? Can I do it from this side? You put it like that, and then you see on the top the Rakers sit proud, and you file the tops of those off so they're both even. So one's not high and one's not low, so they're horizontal. The only problem is that depth is a lot lower than what it should be, and I don't know why they do this, because that depth should only be, well, if this is hardwood, should only be 0.008 of a thousandths of an inch. And if you've got a feeler gauge like this one's made by General, an American feeler gauge, 8 thousandths of an inch is like a couple of thicknesses of paper. It's not very thick. So anyway, this one is made by Disston. So it's a really reputable old company, Disston, and it comes with a manual, looks like that. And there are lots of them, other ones. There are even some that are just very, very rare, and they go for hundreds of dollars. I think there's one called Morton, and there's a few others that are really good quality. So that's that. Now when you get the kit set from that saw company I told you about, you get this jointer gauge. I don't think you get, I think maybe you do get a file. I think you do get a file, but you do need to put a bevel on it, top and bottom, so when you go move along, you're not going to duck and dive down and smash into the teeth. Also, you've got to understand that the direction you're pushing it, like this, you push it like you do a plane, like a wood plane. Well, the teeth have to be in the right direction, because, you know, otherwise you're dragging it as opposed to pushing it. You've got to know which one you're doing. So you get that jointer gauge. You also get this this little anvil that I told you about, and you hammer that notch into the top of a block of a log, and you lay the saw on it like this over the tips, and then you hit it about 3 times lightly, and you go tap, 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 and then you achieve your set, which I'm not going to talk about in great length today. Then you also get what's called a spider. A spider looks like this, so it actually looks a little bit like a cross or a spider. And what you do is you hold that on here like this, and then you measure how far that tooth is moved over. So when that tooth moves over like this, that distance from there to there, there's 3 points that are on the saw, and this point at the top is showing how much your teeth are bent over, and you'll just touch it on the tip there. Now, when I first purchased this one, these points were high, and so that was sticking out too much, so you have to grind it. When you buy it, you've got to grind it. And so you put it on a grinder like this, and you take that tip off until you get down to there's a measurement that's in the brochure, and I'm trying to remember, it was like, I think it was 0.020 to 0.030, but you've got to look at the brochure to find out how much set that should be, and it's not very much at all. It's also like the thicknesses of a few sheets of paper. So that's called a spider. And then you also get this raker gauge. Now the problem with this one, when I purchased it, it was actually bent. Because it was made of brass, it was bending this way. So I had to hit it a couple of times with a hammer to straighten it out. And then this little bolt with a nut, you set that. So when you're sitting on top like this, let me get my glasses on. When you're sitting on top like this, and you move it across the tips of your two teeth, either side of your raker, and then you can see how high your raker points are. And then you also get your feeler gauge, and in case, because I'm doing hardwood, I want 0.008 thousandths of an inch, and then I have to put one either side so you know how much that should be lower, that point should be lower, and so you're clearing 8 thousandths of an inch lower. And the reason I said that before is because your teeth are cutting the furrows or the sides of your gullet or your ditch, if you like, if you can imagine a ditch. And then your rakers are chiseling front and back. They chisel both ways. One goes that way and one goes this way. So it goes shung, 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 like that. Shung. And big long streamers come off. And the streamers can be about that long. They're ribbons of wood chips. And then if they come out really clean, they're fine. But sometimes they can have little hairs on the sides of the wood chips. And so you analyze the wood chip. And the wood chip or the streamers will diagnose how well you're sharpening your saw. Right, so then what else do you get? You also get that, I think it does come with a feeler gauge, because I've actually got 2 feeler gauges now, so I think it came with a feeler gauge. And then, this is one of the most important things. This is the swaging hammer. It's hammer that's designed specifically for doing this. Now when I do this, you might be a bit surprised, but this is actually what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hit these points like this. Now why am I doing that? Well, this is called swaging your rakers. So at the moment your tips look like this. I'm not giving you the fingers, that's what they did in World War II, to give you the V thing. You've got these 2 straight rakers like this, and you're literally tapping them, tap, 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 or you've got to hit them reasonably hard. You don't have to smash it, but you keep tapping them until eventually they start curving over, front and back, like that. They start curving over. Now, I was hitting these rakers like this. I'll do one now to show you. And you can feel a bit of a burr kind of coming up here. And then I was kind of getting a bit paranoid because I was like hitting it really, really hard, and I was thinking, shit, a brick. These are going to snap off, because I've snapped off one before. And it was given to me by a friend. It was his retired father's, and I thought, oh, I feel so guilty breaking one of these. Because what I used to do is I used to get a punch. I don't have a punch with me, but just imagine that my file is a punch. And I was doing this, I was going like that. And then it went twang, and I thought, oh my God, why did I do that? And so you don't use a punch. I've seen people on YouTube use a punch, so just do not, no punches. You always use a swaging hammer, and a swaging hammer is tapered like that. Both sides, you can use either side, and then it's got a nicely cleaned circular face. So don't go, I mean, you could use a carpenter's hammer if that's all you had. I mean, if you spent hours and hours and hours, you might file or grind one to a wedge but waste of time, but you can just get one. I suppose you could adapt a small tack hammer but this is designed for it. And you hit them like this. Now here's the problem. If you hit too hard, they'll snap off. Now, in this brochure here, they give there's an amazing training manual. So I could give you I could go through every single stage, but it's actually laid out really, really well in here, really, really well. So there's the ribbons that come off, and if they show the difference between a clean ribbon and one that's got little sort of hairy edges to it. Here's setting on an anvil. Setting means bending those teeth wide. What else have they got? They also talk about using the spider. Here, that's the spider, which shows you what width of your set, and here as well, here's the spider on page 21. And then I'm going backwards, by the way. Now it's getting into, what's it getting into? Oh, there's just so much. It's pretty good, actually. Here's the jointer, showing how you put the file in there, and then you measure the distance that the rakers are down. In this case, they show a measurement for hardwood and the measurements for softwood. Then now this is the most important part that we're getting to, this part here, and that talks about the shape of the rakers before you hit them. Let me try and see a better picture. There's another picture. Oh, here it is. Here, this is the real important one. This picture here is really important, because you'll see the cutting angle is about 30 to 40 degrees right here, and that's actually, now if you look at the one you buy, so let's say this one here, this is a two-man bucking saw. A bucking saw is slightly different. Again, it's a lot not thinner, but it's less wide. This here, so here's the raker, and here's the teeth, the 4 teeth, and here's the other raker. That's like about between 40 and 45 degrees, that angle there. So that needs to be filed out more. And so you have to file them before you swage them. So what I do, my hand's greasy because that's covered in grease. What I do is I've got a really lovely digital angle finder by Klein Tools. I really recommend this one. It's really good. And you've got to put a little battery in there. I think it's maybe a AAA, I can't remember, or something smaller. You press 0, or you just turn it on. So first you 0 it by closing it. Then you press the button there, and the zeros come on. Yeah, it's now down to 0. And then what I do is I just put it up against my rakers, and I kind of try and get the average. Well, let's get one of the fat ones. Where's one I can get access to? And then you just take that position there. Where's one I can get access to? That there. That measurement there is currently around 35.1 degrees. Let's move, because as I moved it, because it's so sensitive, I went to 34.9. So that angle there is just about right. But the thing is that what I've been struggling with is even hitting them as much. They're just not going over very well. So I think there might be just individual differences. There's a blue dragonfly down there. I've never seen a blue dragonfly in my entire life, but he's just on a twig. Anyway, so this one's definitely a little bit too fat. So I'm still going to file some of these down to get a better result. So I'm just going to individually file some of them, like this one here. This is I should file more over where I am here. This is awkward just where I'm standing, because I've got this here and I'm on camera. If I move that out of the picture, here you go, that's better. Sometimes I even put my finger behind the back of it. I know my fingers, well, they don't really get damaged. I just roll it. I kind of push and roll it up the curve like that. That one's quite thin now, so if I swage that, it should be working. Let's see how this goes with this one. Yeah. gone over a little bit. You can feel a bit of an edge to it, but not much. So sometimes there are differences in saws just when they were hardening and tempering them. Hardening means make hard, and tempering means bringing them back a few notches. And they heat the steel up to cherry red, and then they dunk it in oil or water, and then when they temper it they heat it up gently to like, and they have a color, and the color was usually like straw or dark straw, and then they put it in water again, and then that brings it down a notch. And so when they're tempering it, sometimes they can make it harder or softer, and there might be individual differences, so that might depend on how much they can move over. So anyway, that's swaging. So like this one is much too obtuse, so I'm going to take more off this side. That one's a lot better now. Let's have a look. I'm being careful because I hit one of these earlier and a little tiny corner came off. I didn't split and damage the whole one, but just a little corner came off. Don't know if I can find the corner, but one of them's actually missing a little corner. It just fractured and just came off. So yeah, I'm just being careful. There was a guy that I've seen where they've literally made a little wooden block with some leather on it. So what you do is you've got two rakers, so that you literally put the wooden block over here, and it's got a little piece of leather that just covers up one side, so when you're striking over the top of the wooden block, you're only hitting one, you don't go into the other one. So you can make that, it's just a guard. If you can think just a lump of wood that just covers up one side with a bit of leather, so what you're doing is like this, so you're literally going off that surface into it. So I've done that before, but I didn't need to because I'm just getting so accurate. I don't really tend to slip, not really. I'm pretty careful. Now, it's possible that this saw might be harder than average. So I might have to take this angle on these rakers actually finer, like down to 20%. I think I've seen, although that says 30 to 40 degrees, I might have to take mine down to more like 20, more like that rather than like that. So I'll play around with this and see how much I can get, but they're not really folding over. If you look at that picture that I showed you earlier, they're really folding over. And I know it's a drawing, but sometimes it helps if you can find a photograph, an actual photo, a close-up photo of your rakers, and see these ones are actually really bending over. See, they're just curved over, and that's really ideal because when they're coming through the bottom of your gullet like this and like this, that's like a chisel, and that chisels, because you've got to think about, that's a chisel edge, right? So if you're at the bottom of the gullet, you want the chisel to be going this way and then this way, literally like if you're at the beach and you're scooping up sand, building a sandcastle, you want to scoop your fingers up like that. So at the bottom of your saw cut, you want them to be pointing that way. So you don't want that. You want that way. You get the idea. Anyway, so these should be really folding over. Not a lot. I mean, even if it's just on the tip, that's enough. But you've got to feel underneath the back of your finger, you've got to feel a little edge like you're curving over. So in this case, I just might take that angle lower than 30 degrees because at the moment they're, what did I say? Oh, I've got to remember that again. Yeah, 34. So I'd like to take them lower than 34. Let me just check one more time. I'll put that to 0, see if it's actually 0. When I get back to 0, I just press 0 again, and I'll just check my angle one more time. Which one will I check? Maybe this one. I can't do that because that's in the way. Now this is the finest angle I've got. That's this one here. What is it? See, that's there's curvature, so I've got a sort of average. But that's 33 and a third. 333. That's my favorite number. 333. That's the name of the Holy Trinity, isn't it? So even 33 1/3 degrees, for me personally, is not acute enough. That's obtuse, that's acute, right? You probably know that from maths class. So I'm going to take mine more acute. So less like 36 or towards 34 and more towards 30 or even 29, which is like that. So anyway, that's just me talking about Rakers and saw sharpening today on this Disston 2-man saw. It's a 2-man saw, but one person can use it. It has a handle like this and a handle on top usually, but when I do it, I just do it one-handed, and it's really a joy. I do it because the exercise is amazing. You build up a lot of upper arm strength. You can feel you can really feel it in your arms, kind of your triceps, and your lats and your chest. So it's a great exercise if you haven't got a gym membership and you're in COVID lockdown like I was. It's a great form of exercise. I'm currently now living in Buckinghamshire in England. So I was in New Zealand, then I was in Texas, where I got these two brand new saws. I got this from Layman's, and they've got this one and the other one. That's called a bucking saw, and I never know the actual term bucking saw compared to a felling saw. Felling also means felling the tree, and a bucking saw is just, I think it's narrower this way. So anyway, that's enough of the lesson. So I'm just writing this. I have given over the command of pit sawing and sawing by hand Facebook group to Vermont Heavy Timber. There's a chap on there, I forget his name. It'll come to me. And so because I wasn't posting enough on that group, and my life just got busy because I work as a psychic and a therapist and a spiritual teacher, and this is just a hobby. And I wanted to give over the opportunity to people who had more vested interest in doing this. So anyway, he's hopefully going to enjoy that, and I will post on the group from time to time. But this is me just in my hobby, having fun. I wish you could see, but I can't point the camera down because it's on a tripod. But I've got this big wooden setup. Let's see if I can take you off the tripod. I don't know if this is going to work. Is it going to work? Yeah, I can. So this is a big setup here. Let's have a look. Move it around. It's a if you can see that, it's a structure that I made with logs, three crosses, and I've got my plum tree log on here ready to be sawn, and I've got a mark here that I made with with what's called a grasshopper gauge. That I learnt that from my father. My father did hand railing, so a grasshopper gauge literally draws a line like this on the end, and all the way around, and then what I do is I get a wood carving chisel once I've created my line along the top, and I chisel a V all the way along the top, and then I just start cutting on the end like this and going through here. But I'll give you another video when I'm in full swing, because it's a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. Anyway, so that is enough from me. I've got a whole host of tools here. I think I showed you them all. This is a lovely saw set. It's a really huge one. I think this one might be similar to one called Eclipse. It's really, really big. It's not like the normal saw sets. But I'll be talking more about this in the future. And that's it for now. Okay, so if you're sawing logs by hand and you'd like to know more, there's a wonderful group called Pit Sawing and Sawing by Hand on Facebook, and I used to run it, and I still kind of will a tiny bit, but I've given over the administration main responsibilities to someone else. So have a good day, and I hope you got something out of that.